But uh, Modi is leveraging China while he is negotiating with the United States. So it's a well played situation here. Modi is not a lightweight either. Okay. He represents a very strong, powerful country that provides a lot of the same shit to us and the rest of the West that China does. He's also a natural competitor to China. And there's a big difference in, for example, what Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia export to the West and what India does. India, of course, is a uh, very Western friendly, where it has a very highly educated population, at least the top half. Uh, they're entrepreneurs. They're not a pure manufacturing export economy like China is. Okay, I think that's what gets lost in the ether here. Is a lot of people put China and India into the same bucket because they do a lot of similar things and they export a lot of similar things. But the the trump card, if you will, that India has is they're a natural ally to the West, in particular the United States. They're also a natural ally I'm sorry, natural opponent, competitor, if you will, to China based on proximity, right? Okay, and they also have a service economy. China doesn't have a service economy, they have a manufacturing economy. Okay, they make cheap things with subpar raw material, and they could do it at a massive, massive clip. Okay, it's a pure manufacturing export, export, export. That is the Chinese economy. And the one thing China and India have in common is they have a lot of what Trump calls non-tariff barriers or non-tariff cheating, I think is what he's calling it right now. Like value-added tax, like making it impossible for foreign companies to uh, get into certain markets, whether it's automotive, motorcycles, IT, AI, etc. Okay, and also they make it China is the worst offender, but there's not a lot of legal recourse for a Western company, and there therefore there's not a lot of uh, enthusiasm to bring your company to China and the Indian market, but particularly China. So back to Modi really quick, guys, and I'm driving, so I'm going all over the place. Bear with my autism this morning, quote unquote autism. You have a situation in which Modi put a 12% or soon. It's it sounds like the groundwork is there via JD Vance. I don't think that Modi would be comfortable with JD Vance announcing that if the bare bones of the deal at minimum were not in place. Hey Janet, thanks for co-hosting. So again, signal might be sketchy, guys. It's a rainy day here in New England, and I'm in the truck, so bear with me. Bear with me. Uh, I think that this is really fortuitous that the United States announces this, even if they're getting ahead of it a little bit, even if JD Vance is getting ahead of it a little bit, because I think what we're trying to do here is calm the storm in the markets. And I would invite you guys, I don't know if you recorded it, but Gary Cardone, not Grant Cardone, but Gary Cardone had a space last night. You could look on his page. I don't know if he records them or not, but it had Bitcoin in the title and tariffs. They're Bitcoin guys, but he brought up some really great points. He had a lot of nervous Nelly trader mutuals in there that they're all bitching and moaning about their positions, and they're just honestly, guys, these day traders are pussies, to be honest with you. They really what was the point Gary made? There's never a good time to I think he said, quote, fuck shit up, meaning what Trump is doing to the markets right now. These guys want some sort of slow walk back, decoupling with China. I don't know if that's entirely possible, guys. When the United States has so much of their economy uh, invested with these behemoths, China, India, the European Union, etc., there's no slow walk back. There's no slow decoupling, guys. And every single day, the day traders are making excuses. Well, the last time gold was 35 was this high. interest rates soared to 18% and all this other shit. Gold is a very interesting subject because you're seeing right now in the Trump tariff era that gold is the head. It's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's being very erratic right now. It was 100,000 in February per coin. Now it dropped to like low 60s. Now I think it's mid 70s. So Bitcoin is as erratic as the market. I am not a believer. It might be someday, but in terms of 2025 remedial math, Bitcoin is not the hedge that the Bitcoin advocates are proclaiming. And I don't think gold is either, to be honest with you. But for now, foreign countries and regular everyday people like myself are finding gold to be a really good investment, like 5 and 6 years ago, which is when I bought a lot of my physical gold and silver. Which I spent a lot of my take home pay in 2019 and 2020 on mostly silver, but I bought physical gold too. Uh, and I can't remember what I bought, 1900 maybe an ounce. So yeah, I've made some money. I would make in theory about $1,300 per ounce if I sold it now, maybe a little bit less than that. But that's not necessarily my goal right now. I don't need the money, thankfully, at this moment, and it's not like I have 50 ounces of it. So uh, it's one of those deals, guys, where you're starting to see people are going back to what works. You're seeing a very interesting phase in American financial history where the US dollar is quote unquote devaluing as if it wasn't before. We'll get to that in a second. Uh, we have a mindset where people that are only interested in cryptocurrencies in the market, they don't know what to do with this. They don't know what to do with the fact that gold is outperforming Bitcoin. They don't know what to do with the fact that, everything that they have learned in their financial literacy in their lives. I'm talking about day traders and hedge fund guys, okay? Points to a recession in the United States. Every ounce of logic that they've ever learned in their investment life and what's gotten them their fortunes is there has to be a recession coming. It's really staggering to me that these guys can't take a 20% loss in their taper tiger portfolios. And I think a lot of these guys are having a come to Jesus moment that the money they were making. That's why none of them, if you listen to them, guys, and a lot of them are anons or a lot of them are behind, token avatars. Uh, a lot of them are not necessarily trashing Biden. You know, a lot of them are indifferent on Biden because they were making money during the Biden era, right? So the top 1% and these day traders, the Dave Portnoys of the world and what have you. And they're realizing that all that money they made in meme stocks and tech stocks and meme tokens and cryptocurrency and NFTs and what have you was false profit, not false profit like PROFPH, right? PROF, false profit. That's what these guys were making. So I think that you need to have this type of realization when you're looking at the financial markets today. And if anybody's telling you that Trump's tariffs are not working, you know, the fact that it's causing the market to be erratic doesn't mean that they're not effective. To make a frittata, guys, the eggshells have to be cracked. And I find it laughable that people think we're headed to a recession when oil's being traded below $70 a barrel, right? When mortgage interest rates are still a point and a half to 2 points lower than they were during Biden's 4 years. So in other words, 6.5% or so, which is still too high, but it was higher under Biden. All of the levers, all of the trigger points, all of the data points that would in theory point to a recession are not there right now. I mean, if you're looking at the S&P 500 every day and what the Fed is doing or not doing, then you would come to the conclusion that, oh God, we're headed towards a recession. The US dollar is devaluing. People are gold is moving. People are going all in on gold. My precious Bitcoin isn't worth six figures and what have you. So they just simply don't know how to handle this, guys. And they're seemingly smart people, but here is what they are not understanding, as I've been telling you guys for the better part of 90 days now. These tariffs are not being done in a vacuum. When they're comparing how the United States has applied tariffs, such as in the 1930s during the uh, Depression, or in the late 19th century, let's just, the 1890s when President McKinley put them in. We obviously didn't have an internal revenue service. We had gold-backed currency. We didn't have a $37 trillion deficit. And here's the most important, this is 1A and 1B. This is the thing that people aren't realizing. We didn't have 20 million illegal aliens in the country in 1897. We also didn't have a bloated federal government in which Elon Musk and his team have effectively cut 1 trillion in spending. And most of that, guys, is government personnel that was hired during the Biden years. So that's how he was able to pad his unemployment numbers, because they were federal government workers. The United States is not like Europe, where 49% of the population works for the federal government. Okay, that's the UK, that's France, that's Belgium. Okay, we don't have 1.9 out of every three American citizens does not work for the federal government. Okay, we're a entrepreneur economy by nature, right? That's how this country was founded, guys. The Puritans were traitors. They weren't. They were masked as religious zealots that were excommunicated from Britain via Holland, but that is not the case. They were here to set up commerce in the New World. Jamestown was a trading colony. Plymouth, right? Okay, and Provincetown, Massachusetts Bay Colony was set up to be a maritime commerce port by the Puritans, the British Crown. Okay, we were not set up here to baptize Indians and indigenous people. We were not bringing, the goal was not to bring Squanto closer to Jesus. I know that's what we were taught growing up. The British Empire was forged in blood and gold, friends. They didn't go to India for the food. They didn't go to Bermuda to get a suntan. Okay, they didn't come to the New World to baptize indigenous people. They came here to make fucking money and trade. The same reason the Spanish and the Portuguese crossed the ocean sea, what they called the Atlantic Ocean in the 1400s and 1500s. So by nature, the United States is an entrepreneurial. The 13 colonies, the beef we have, on the 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's ride, one if by land, two if by sea, the 13 colonies, guys, we were a giant trading post from Boston all the way down to what is modern day Atlanta, Georgia. Tobacco, corn, cotton in the South, all the way up to Virginia. All right. In the North, everything else, everything industrial. Commerce nation. That's what the United States is. So again, I beseech you guys to get a grip on what our actual history is as a country, and this will all be clear. This will all be more clear for you, my friends. So, continuing. India, if that is the first chess piece off the board, That, I predict the markets will skyrocket. I think this deal is going to be very lucrative. Again, it's not an L if Trump doesn't get. We're not in this for zero tariffs. Maybe we make exceptions for developing countries or like Argentina. They want to go to zero tariffs because they're getting out of 60 years of socialism. So they need they're fine with exporting with no tariff because they need to make money, not print money. They've got a lot of work ahead of them. If Vietnam wants to do that, maybe we'll see. It's not about 0% tariff. It's about uh, divorce themselves slowly but surely from China. And if India or Vietnam or Thailand or Malaysia can fill that vacuum, fill that void of some of the cheap shit we're getting from mainland China, we need to do that. Okay. The fact that Modi is putting it's a minimal 12% tariff on foreign steel and aluminum, much like Trump did a 25% globally. Modi did it with China because the stuff that they make. India imports cheap steel and aluminum from China as well at a major clip. He has to reset the board himself for his people, right? So that's the power of this negotiation. Guys, the mere fact that if the tariffs were not a good idea, friends, many of you think that because the market is so erratic that tariffs are destabilizing. Okay, we don't need to have. I know they're saying 50 countries. That I don't really care, guys, what our trade deficit is with Estonia or the Congo, right? Or any of these other pissant little countries. That's not what's at stake here. But you need to be able to make a fair market for US exports. Automotive is the big one. I keep going back to that. We need to start selling Ford and GM in Europe. They might not buy them, but they need to be there. And we need to make money on markup on our vehicles, on our exports. All right. So when India when these larger trade partners that make up, basically 75% of our economy that we do business with, okay? Uh, when that happens, you will see a market correction, the likes of which you've never seen. And when we get through the summer, when we get through Q3 of this year, which is essentially through Labor Day, okay? And there's still no recession, and yours truly is still getting unleaded gas at 2.25 a gallon here in southern New Hampshire. And when eggs are still $5-6 a dozen, all right? And crude oil is trading between $55 and $63 USD per barrel. Then Jerome Powell is going to look like even more of a fucking idiot than he looks like now for sitting on interest rates. And when mortgage prices are rising. In other words, we don't have a recession. The Federal Reserve is going to have no choice but to adjust their plan. And I think Jerome Powell might be stupid enough to raise interest rates because he's going to see the economy's doing well. He's going to see that we're getting tariff revenue, not hundreds of billions of dollars, but if we make $100 billion on tariffs this year, that shows improvement. If the American consumer is having access to capital and the Congress gets their shit together and makes the Trump tax cuts permanent, they're probably going to raise interest rates. And that will be the end of Jerome Powell's tenure as Federal Reserve Chairman, because when that happens and the Fed has all the evidence that this economy is stable, that this reset works, and that we're not in a fucking recession, and he thinks, oh, well, everybody's got more money to spend, let me raise interest rates because we have no signs of core inflation. Guys, they're going to be demanding his resignation. The American people won't stand for it. So anyway, that's all I have to say to you guys today. I would like, if I have time for a few comments, so grab a mic I've got some time here, not a lot of time, but I'd like to hear your brief comments. Like a couple sentences here about what you think about what is your feeling on 22 April 2025 about this economic plan. All it's going to take is one of these countries to pop and pen to paper to go to one of these countries, guys, and all these frowns are going to be turned upside down. All of them. Janet, do you have anything to say? Are you as co-host, or are you just chillaxing on this morning?
I've been listening to a quite
Yes. No, I do, and with youth comes inexperience, Janet, and no disrespect to our Gen Z people in here, but they haven't lived life. They've not paid enough. They haven't paid their dues yet. And I'm all about people in college if they have self-reflection and say, maybe, what a smart young person would do would look at where we have a labor deficit. Look at what industries we have we talk about trades all the time. The best thing you could do is be honest with a young person. Yes, if your liberal arts degree is not going to net you a job that pays north of 60 or $70,000 a year, yeah, be guys. Kid gloves are off. They're old enough to go to war and die, and they're old enough to vote. You tell them, yeah, you're fucking wasting your time in college, and yes, you have debt now. You did not make a good choice. It's not really fair because they're 18 at the time. But the best thing you could be with these young people is honest, guys. You know, uh, be honest with them. Yes, you're wasting your fucking time. We don't need more high school teachers. We need more electricians. We need more people that can work in manufacturing. Because if you handle them with kid gloves, they're going to bite you in the ass, whether it's a family member, friend's kid, or just one of the young people in your neighborhood. The best thing you could be with young people is be honest and tell them, you know, they have not lived life in order long enough to have that opinion. They haven't had a family, they haven't had a mortgage. A lot of them aren't even paying rent. They haven't had real world experience. What they're doing is being doom pilled by social media. But at the same token, yes, you tell them that their degree is not going to be helpful to them in a 2025 entrepreneurial economy. I'm a very direct person, as you guys know. I believe in handling, whether they're 22 or 82, being very direct with people. And I think that's the problem. We're so afraid of alienating and losing and pissing off our young people that we are telling them white lies. And it's coming from a good place, but we're not doing them any favors, whether it's our own children or, like I said, a friend's kid or a neighborhood kid or whatever. Rosie, you're up. I see you came up. Hi.
Good morning. Yeah. So what Janet, what you're saying, it to me it stands out as this is what the MSM is saying. They're parroting it every day. Like when I hear them, and I shouldn't be surprised. God knows I shouldn't be surprised, but it's stunning to me. They just the rhetoric, the rhetoric, the rhetoric, and I think that's what the young people are catching up on. I know SNL is bashing Trump over the head as much as they can. So I'm not on like the other social media apps, which is probably the higher extent of their absorption of information. But I can only imagine that there's a whole bunch of Chris Mowrys and little people that have been set up because they're on this app for us as adults to talk bad, to us to make our morale dip. So if they're here trying to influence our opinions, we better damn well believe they're on Snapchat or wherever they go on. So I've been paying attention, and it's amazing the difference of generation. And I have two daughters myself in their 20s. They are not like these other kids, and I'd accredit it to how they were raised and also the gift that God gave them and being able to have critical thinking and actually take control of their future. And they're both well on a path for a really good life, like home ownership and everything, no dependence on me whatsoever. So I'm marveling, two young women, and they've both done very well. So what I've been focusing on, I've been watching China from within, the unraveling. So I'm seeing the Chinese factories closing. They're saying that they're having their fairs where normally the Western buyers will come in, take a look at their goods and place their orders. Orders are canceling, and it's the US that's killing them. They're not getting it from Europe. Nothing's compensating from the loss within the US. So China is, in fact, collapsing upon itself from everything I'm seeing from within. Even though the CCP monitors them, clearly stuff's getting out. So my question is, has Xi asked Trump to negotiate yet? I know he said if we're to negotiate, he needs to have someone respectful doing it. Like it's so, oh gosh, it's cringe. But I'm curious if he's come to the table because I'm thinking Vietnam told him to go scratch.
I don't think she will ever call Trump because of the Chinese mindset in doing business is all about face and respect, which Trump understands, Rosie, from the opposite end, right? In the transactional relationship, he understands how to deal with them. I think what you're finding is I opened up the space by saying we spend about, as an economy, a U.S. economy that includes us, includes our federal government, blah blah blah. We're a $20 trillion a year consumer. Okay, that's our expenditure, roughly. Okay, in order for China to replace what we buy, they would need all of the European Union countries to buy at volume, at scale, what the United States buys from them. I had to double check, even with all the EU countries agreeing to pick up a fractional share of what they would lose to the US, that still only equals less than, not just under 19 trillion a year. I don't know how many countries are in the EU, whatever, 18, 19 countries, whatever that is. Good luck getting them all on the same page. And building off of that, they would also need a country to make up that margin that has a GDP of like north of $1 trillion. Okay, there, try and find that. Who's on there after that? So replace, it's not so simple as, okay, the US wants to make, expose the paper tiger economy that is China. We'll just go to other markets. We'll go to Europe, we'll go to Canada, we'll go to Africa and sell and make up that. They can't do it, guys. They can't make up the business loss they get from the United States. They just can't. They don't, the math doesn't work for them, right? And so they'll never admit it, but they're being threatened. And China is a lot like the day traders. They don't know how to handle what's going on right now. They're threatening people who negotiate with the United States. They're losing control of the situation, and they don't honor their deals. Like they didn't honor the tariffs, or they didn't honor the trade deal in 2020, because on January 15th they were supposed to sign that. That same week, the first Chinese national was COVID at the airport in Seattle, Washington. So, and they convenient, and Biden never enforced anything, of course. So, as somebody who studies mostly Japanese, but somebody who studies Asian business, the Chinese have insulted our honor. Not just Trump, but the entire United States. And if you don't think that that doesn't exist in their culture, I would say you're wrong. It might not exist in the China CCP. They don't give a fuck, but there's 2 billion people there, and a super majority of them are not in the China CCP. Long story short is they need the United States more than we need them. Dr. Seuss, go ahead. What's up?
Good morning, guys. Just information Rose is saying, it's true. Factories are closing, and the big company from Taiwan, they just relocated to Vietnam in Suzhou, and those are the Yangtze River economic area. Those places, several big cities, they are mainly manufacturing for export all goods to Western, almost empty. And I saw the major shoemaking and all those, they're gone. I think the Korea company, they were ahead of time, like before the pandemic, they already relocated. The Taiwanese company, it just this past 2 years, they start to relocate it to Vietnam and Malaysia, all those places. And people are losing jobs. What they say, like a 5%, 10% unemployment, all wrong. Roughly, I think it's more than 30, 40%. Most people, if you are above 35 years old, you are out. They won't even interview you. 35 years old, can you believe that? And those young graduates from college immediately lose job, and they don't even get a job. So the situation is much worse than any people can imagine over there. Even big city like Shanghai, Beijing, my sister in Beijing, she said it's really, really bad. And the only place is full of people is hospital. Anywhere, the big shopping mall, movie center, anywhere, it's empty. This is Beijing and Shanghai. Think about those are the first line, fourth line places. And if those places are empty, not only the shopping mall, even the CBD area, those are, buildings for the big company offices, all those, half are empty. And people are not spending money, they don't have money. And the house price is crashing. In the second line cities, it's about half down. Even in Beijing, about like 30, 40% down. In Shanghai, some areas, sub-area is about 50% down. And so the only thing, different compared to us is there's a controlling system is so fucking crazy, right? I mean, they know everything about you. So no one could really come up to against anything about CCP does. And Xi Jinping actually is in a very weird situation. He went to Vietnam, went to Malaysia, all those places, and he tried to find the bypass way for the commercials imports to America. And I don't think he got anything.
Ben, did he go to Malaysia? Did you say? I know
he go
went
to
Vietnam.
He get Vietnam and Malaysia. And
Malaysia. Oh, maybe he could take Ian Miles Chung from Malaysia and bring him back to Beijing, so you don't have to deal with him.
So he tried to do something, but right after he left Vietnam, Vietnam already flipped their face. So they know how to deal with Chinese. In front of your face, they will say, oh yeah, we are friends, we're gonna unite together, we are Asia, we are all those shit. And then after he left, they immediately flip face. They know what CCP is. And Vietnam is a communist country too, right? But the part is for Vietnam, they are not expansionists, right? They do their own business, they are more open than China. You can use Google, you can use Facebook, all those in Vietnam. And you can't use any of all those American social media platform in China, and most Americans even don't know that. I was so damn surprised. I was like, this is common sense. Why you guys don't know that? But seems particular people in left, they don't know that very, very basic informations. They don't know that. It's gonna be a painful process. We can understand this decoupling process since China in WTO for this 25 years, right? Imagine they have several advantages. Slave people, right? People working like slavery, what we call the 996. What does that mean? Every day, 9 o'clock, go to work, go back home, 9 o'clock. Okay, 12 hours working, 6 days a week, 996 is standard practice in every single factory, everywhere. All right? And you talk about the protection of working labor. Who give a fuck about that one? This is a communist country, right? You either go or you either do or you get away. That's whole thing is right. And the pollution, all those things. Who give a fuck? All those, the big city like Beijing was smuggling in the winter like crazy because the steel industry around Beijing was like, they produce all those steels like crazy. You can imagine all the carbon, all those. They don't give a shit, but they know how to talk to Western because you guys are so into that shit. Oh, environmental stuff, green, every shit. They know how to talk to you because they know what you want to listen. But they do a different thing. That's very Chinese philosophy. We say this, we say that, but we do this, we do that. And that's what happened in this past 25 years. They don't have advantage. They don't need to think about innovation. They only need to manufacture to give that to American market, to make American dollar, using dollar as anchor to print more Chinese money, using American dollar as a weapon to come back, bribing the whole world politicians, world organizations to make everything under their control. This strategy works very well, and you see that in front of your eye every day. You have to do
Yes.
decoupling, and that's the only way to go. We may suffer a bit, but it's gonna shift. Manufacturing gonna shift. It shifted multiple times. Think about that. From American to Asia to Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, right? Then from South Korea, all those places to Thailand, to Singapore, all those happened. Then eventually go back to mainland China. And when those things shift again to Malaysia, to Vietnam, to India, it's gonna happen. It's just one more moving, no big deal. It happened 3 times in history. Why not happen again? It's gonna happen. Tariff is a tool. You have to use it.
Well, the other thing is too, Ben, is I think a lot of people. I mean, I haven't said enough myself either, but I think when a lot of these other countries, like some of the European, when they see the United States buying less from China, because like you said, like we've all export economy only, that they'll also take the plunge. They might not tariff like the United States does, but they, in theory, but I think they would buy. I think when people see the United States is not going to go into an apocalypse if we're buying like 60% less from China and we survive a year or two of economic growth, other countries are going to, smaller countries that obviously buy less because they're like, the UK or maybe some of the South American countries like Brazil and China do a lot of it. When they see that the United States has not fallen, I think that they will take the plunge as well. And here's the thing, guys: this Trump and Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, cracked the code. This is how you deal with China. If they can't export at the volume that they've been doing really since the early 90s, that economy will break, and it's going to break fast because they were built purely on exports and employing, almost a billion people, if not more. So thanks for that, Ben. Let me get a great perspective from somebody who's actually lived there and knows about it. Janet, let me go to you as co-host, then to Stephanie really quick.
Stephanie, you can go ahead and talk. No one's talking.
Oh, actually, it's Steven, but thanks anyway. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
I mean, you guys are making, I mean, Zach, great points on what you're saying. Is that, my mom, who's a retired teacher, back in the day, things were different. Education was different back in the day, and at times have changed. Malls are closing. Now you have Amazon taking over. They're taking over everything. They say stores like Family Dollar, Dollar Trees, and everything, and all that other stuff, they're closing. A lot places are closing. Times have changed. Look at the CDs and movies and cassettes. Nobody buys CDs anymore. Nobody goes to the video store or buy movies. They download. A lot have a lot of things have been changing. People that own video stores don't have business no more because times have changed. Everything has changed around. And yeah, I have some college experience. I didn't graduate. That's okay. It was a waste of time for me. I'm a high school graduate, not college, which is fine. But yeah, college is a waste of time, and I kind of do agree with it. And the times that I
Yeah.
wasted when I had I had a little time of college. I didn't graduate, so I don't care. It was a waste of time. And it is. Even running a business is like a waste of time. But they also have schools where they train people to like do like film directing and like make masks. And as a horror fan, I was told that I should go to a school like Tom Savini's makeup school and do those types of things. Because when you're a horror fan, you can actually get into those things. You know what I'm saying, Janet? Like Janet, you like movies. You would make a good director and and a script writer. Janet, because I see how you do reviews on movies and what you do. And another thing is like YouTube. YouTube should pay people to do reviews on movies, like they have, But their YouTube is making money off of people that do these videos, no matter what, even if it's fights at stores or at events, And even the restaurant business is closed. Is complicated. A lot there's like competition out there, and that's why I would never run a business because of the competition, and it takes up too much time. But yes, college is a waste of time. I did have some experience with college, didn't graduate, don't care. But my mom, who's a retired teacher, she went to her years in college, and she did her job as a teacher. And my dad didn't graduate. My dad, who didn't graduate college like me, he has made careers of it. He has had a lot of jobs, but the one longest job he had was White Rose, and he made a living. They say you got to make a living. That's what my parents did. They both made livings.
Go ahead, Janet. Sorry about that earlier, guys. My mic was closed. Thanks, Steven. Yeah, Janet, go for it.
Yes, nice to meet you. Nice talking to you, man. Mm.
And don't forget looks go a long way. I hate to bring shallowness into the discussion, but that's very important because uh, you've often heard the term you got to sell yourself, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're doing a startup. Uh, a lot of that guy, first impressions are skin deep, and that is something you have to remember, friends. So take care of yourselves if you are, especially you tell young people. Young people tend not to have a problem with that, I find, but you know, there's a reason why you know, when I show up to a customer's house, right, to get them to pay me 30 grand to rip their kitchen apart. Um, you know, I don't show up wearing, you know, filthy clothes and stuff like that, uh, uh, so they know what they're getting, right? You got to be confident and you got to look the part. You got to clean up well. I'm a big believer in that. You know, that goes a long way. When I hire people, you know, the few times I do for the stuff I don't want to do, which is not really much, but uh, you know, I'm not going to hire some schlub, right? Male or female. So it's the whole package, guys. You gotta be strategic and find what the labor deficit is in the economy. You've got to have the wherewithal to accept the fact that you might not make money necessarily your first 3 to 6 to 9 months out there, and you have to look the part. You know, again, I'm a huge believer in that. Being a semi-shallow ass person myself, I'm a big fan of good-looking people, and the places I do business with, whether it's the you know, the sauna place I go to, everybody in there, the owner, and all good-looking people. Okay, because when they go in there, they want you to spend money, they want you to get a membership because they want a customer to walk in there and say, "I want to look like them." They look healthy. They look full of vitality. This yoga studio is very clean. Everybody in here has a tight body. Here's my $80 a month membership. Okay. Uh, remember that. Uh, the outside is as important as the substance of the work you're doing. I'm a huge believer in that. Okay. Yeah, Janet. Yep. Yeah. Janet, I've got a rule. The first rule is I like to do business with good-looking people. But I'm glad you said that because it's a good balance. So, Seuss, I saw your hand up, buddy.
You know, guys, I have to disagree with you. In a way, oh, I needed to fly to South Korea to make myself looking better. Damn, it's easy for you to say if you naturally have good looking, but hard for people don't have that. So we have to go to either Thailand, or no, Thailand only do that part. South Korea is the best place. They can change your face, make you all looking beautiful. All right, just be joking. For the college part, Yes, I think more than half of the diplomas we give to people is useless stuff. And hey, that's just what the shit it is. But science and technology, engineering, you still have to come to college because self-study all those on-hand training, you won't be able to get that free online. And I keep emphasis to my students, you learn half things in the lecture, you learn the other half in the lab. I hand by hand train you how to do all those things. Those are useful one day you go to work and to use the company, all the government agency for testing stuff. Those are learned in the lab. So you regard that part, you want to spend the money to learn all the useful things for you in college. You don't want to learn like certain things like you can free get online, right? Or like history, philosophy. No, your teacher may not be a smart one. Your professor could be a dumbass at all, and you won't be able to learn anything from them. You got to know how to learn all those things. But the hard science engineering part, you don't have to learn. And in the lab, in the lecture, another one is, entrepreneur is good for the country, but we have to know for America as a leader of the world, only those trade service type of economy will not make us fly. You need to have high tech to predominate the world. And if you go to Elon Musk, SpaceX, their factory, it's really shocking you. Not only shocking you, shocking the world. Anybody say, oh, American doesn't have a manufacturing, show them Elon's factory. We don't have one. We don't have very good one. It's just the economic policy shift a lot of things out. We need to bring all those things back. May not be back as the old ways, those traditional manufacturing will be automatic way. It doesn't matter as far as it's manufactured over here, the factory built, the service, robots, all those things, those are the high-tech new level of manufacturing will make the industry level much higher compared with the old one. That's through the tariff. We need to bring part of that back to America, give a new level of manufacturing. All those, we need good engineering, we need good scientists. So regarding that, college education, those parts are still very important. I just don't know how to use my power to get more students are willing to do all those things. But I'm not so worried. When those jobs come back, the serve the automated factory, you will have good engineers come out from college. Why students don't want to get into those majors? First, it's hard. It's hard to learn those hard science. To get A, you have to work your butt off. Secondly is after graduation, they don't get good paid job. That's why they don't want to get into those degrees. So, but it's an easy way. When they get back, you will have more students get into those programs, and then it's a double win-win, and it's a spiral up process. Take some time, but I'm pretty confident about that part. Just my point. Thank you.
No, yeah, I saw your post about that in the DM chat, and I agree with that. There is going to be a window of time where we get domestic students, American-born students, to get on board with all of this. I absolutely agree with that. Uh, that's why I've been trying to tell people. I know a lot of people were upset about Elon and Trump's H-1B visa comments back around Christmas time, but and I got into a pretty heated discussion with Prodigal about it. But I'm like, dude, I'm on board with what your thought process is, but we don't have that. You can't say let's do away with this visa, which I think I understand there were a lot of loopholes and it was being abused. I'm not for the corruption. I'm just saying, when we're ranked 20th in education, we're not really in a position, or these companies that we want to do business here, because if they don't do business here, they're going to China, guys. They're not going to Zimbabwe or Belgium. It's us or China. And you take away the H-1B visa market for them, then they're not going to stay here. So I'm not against, in principle or in practice, creating more opportunities for American-born students, but we're not there yet. You want to talk about putting the cart before the horse? I mean, holy fuck. I mean, we need to. I mean, look at the libs of TikTok, guys. Does it look like our young people that were born here in this country are ready to start working at SpaceX? I don't think so. So, we're 10 to 15 years away from that.
I
Something
think
to think about.
if you go to SpaceX, the rocket sites, if you take a look of the face, possibly maybe 40% are not American born, but they make the rocket fly out and come back. So Elon is very he's just practical, right? I don't give a shit who you are. You have intelligence, you have talent, you can make this thing work. I hire you, right? That's what America is about. You need the strong men, smart people are willing to work hard to make this country moving forward. A lot of people natural born over here, but they are weak mandate. They will be, I'm sorry to say that, they will fall behind and they will be marginalized because you can't push this country moving forward. And you live over here, that's fine. But to pushing those who level of industry in a new level, you need a smart, strong-minded people. Don't care who the heck it is. They can achieve their dream over here. They can make our science, our whole industry a new level. We make that happen. And because that happened in America, it doesn't matter who they are. They make this American achieve a new high level. We make that happen. That's my point. I mean, take me as an example.
Exactly.
I'm H1B, and I came here as a graduate student. I stopped over here. I love this country. For me, it's very different because I escaped from a system. Maybe for other people, different situation. And but my intelligence and my talent contributed to this country. And I'm a very few people in the whole medical field, remember in the very early beginning, know what trick they are playing for those whole things. And how many American born scientists over here pushing you to get jab, right? And so you see who is a man of American man, who isn't an American man, although they are American born. So what? We want the strong man, the strong will, and smart people to push this country moving forward.
Excuse me. Sorry, just taking a bite here. Good stuff, Ben. Yeah. So in summary, guys, look at our young people. David Hogg. I know he's got this good job at but when you see the protests on campus with Palestine or anti-Trump stuff, and you see people like David Hogg on CNN acting like the fucking retard that he is, those are the people that my fellow nationalists think would get hired in Palo Alto. Those are American-born, a lot of them. Not so much the ones involved in the Palestine, but the anti-Trump stuff. Those are the people that Elon Musk is supposed to hire just because they were born in the United States. And I'm making a generalization so you guys understand my point. It's funny that conservatives make jokes about liberals' kids majoring in basket weaving and stuff, and then we get all pissed off when tech companies are hiring Indians and Taiwanese and Chinese to work, in Silicon Valley, etc. Well, okay, instead of making fun of these liberal kids, you should have said, "Hey, I know your parents are Bernie Sanders freaks. Don't be like them. Learn mechanical engineering. Okay, learn programming." Maybe we should have done that instead of making fun of their purple hair and their ridiculous majors in gender studies. So it's the one time I call out my MAGA brethren because they're get away with H-1B visa. They're all Indians that end up voting Democrat and they don't have any loyalty to this country. Okay, maybe I don't disagree with that. Um, they're legal. First of all, they're not U.S. citizens. They still have an Indian passport. They just happen to be working in the United States. So I don't expect them to have loyalty to the United States because their passport is not blue like mine. Okay, so exploit them for their talent and then send them the fuck home. But until we're not 20th in education, I was taking pre-calculus, guys, like my sophomore year of high school in the 90s. Okay, I know kids in college, they might be they never take calculus at all in high school or college. So, or derivatives or anything like that. This is all, basic shit, guy. This isn't hard. I did it. And I was like a B student in college. I did not graduate magna cum laude or anything like that. I was not a good student, but I was a hard worker. And that was 25 years ago. I can't even imagine the decline now. Useless shit, useless education breeds useless members of society. I hate to say it, but it's true. All right, Janet and Melissa, you guys, if you can go quick, because I've got to strike a blow here with work. Thank you for co-hosting, Janet. Why don't you go first? Thank you, Janet. Melissa, go ahead. You'll be the final speaker. You guys have a wonderful day too.
So, like, I don't know if you all have ever listened to like Scamming the Scammers. Most of them come from India. So this is kind of weird. Like I'm seeing like, oh, like JD Vance, we're doing, with India, whatever. But a lot of the scammers that have taken over like the American citizens, they say like, oh, you got a whatever on your computer, it's a virus. So what these people in the US were doing was like, no, we're watching it, and they're scamming elderly. So they're like, oh, if you don't, like give us this money, blah blah blah. Like, so they're doing these things. So it's just weird how, like they're going India, which is like India is one of our largest peoples, for our tech support. So all these people believe them, and then they're going into oh, well, we got X amount of money. Oh crap, we put X amount of money into your bank account. So they know who they're targeting. So these elderly people are going to You know, like
Yeah,
the
Melissa, I don't
the
think
source.
those are the people. I don't think those are the people working in Silicon Valley, though. That's really, I don't
No,
disagree with you,
no,
but
no. This is what you need to.
that's
No, this is what you need to listen to. It's
yeah,
India.
yeah, yeah. Indian people scam old people. I know that with phone
Yes.
calls and
Okay,
all that
you
shit.
get that. All
I
right. So
understand.
you get
Okay,
that.
yeah,
So now
yeah.
we gotta
So
recognize. Now we gotta recognize
so
what.
why
Why
are you
are
why are
we?
you
Why
why are
are
you
we?
why are you why are you arguing with me? I'm not arguing
I'm
with
not
you. I'm just saying
arguing with you.
that's not
I'm
the
not
that was the,
arguing with you whatsoever, bro.
uh,
I'm not.
okay, that wasn't the core of my conversation though. Was not Indian scammers.
Okay,
I
but
wasn't even. We
what
weren't
I'm
even
saying is,
talking
if
about
we're
that.
gonna join with India, they
We
already
already
know the
are.
scammers. They
We
already know
already
the
are.
scammers.
We do
So,
$100 billion worth of trade with them a year. It's not like it's a new relationship. We've
I
been doing
get that, but what I'm saying is it's still going on. It's still going on today. So
okay.
now we're making a relationship with India. So like, oh, so if you look at these people that, like are, going along and, calling out the scammers. So why
Okay. Okay. This is a useless conversation. I don't want to fucking talk about Indian people calling elderly people and scamming them. That's not Melissa. I'm sorry. That's not what I'm talking about. JD Vance is not going to Modi and saying I need Indian people in Bombay to stop fraudulently calling American citizens. I don't think that's part of the negotiation. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about that today. It's not relevant. I don't need the government to tell. You don't give your information to anybody, no matter where their accent's from. Uh, anyway, you guys have a great day. You don't need the government to protect you from scammers. They should be, but you are your first line of defense, and you're your own best advocate for that. All right. Cheers, everybody. Have a great day. Appreciate the convo, Janet. Thank you very much. Talk to you guys on the flip side, maybe tomorrow. Take care.
First off, let me convey to my family, friends, and supporters that now is not the time to gloat. We must remember that most of our left-leaning friends are good people who want the same things in life as we do, but simply think differently on how to get there. It is now time to be the bigger man, to extend an olive branch and unite all reasonable people of this great nation. God has blessed America, and together with President Trump, we will make America great again.